Hello friends, in today's video I'm going to talk you through how to use Pentart Fineline two-step or crackle. So I've already done one video on daily art two-step crackle varnish, so if you haven't seen it before and you would like to find out more about it, then click the card wherever it's going to pop up or the link in the description below. So today we're going to specifically talk about Pentart two-step crackle varnish, and it's specifically the Fineline one. I haven't tried the other ones just yet. Hopefully I will soon. But this is the kind of look that you can achieve with this varnish. So as you can see, it gives you really nice, very fine, very delicate cracks. So compared to daily art crackle, it's very delicate and very pretty and very porcelain-like, which is what I really like. So before we get started, you will need your step 1 and step 2 Fineline Crackle Varnish by Pentart. You will also need some acrylic brushes that are a bit like that, so they're very soft. You will need some metallic pigments. These are the pigments that I have. They are also by Daily Art. I have them in royal gold and I have them in copper. So unfortunately, because this crackle varnish has to be sealed with a solvent-based sealant, you will have to use specific pigments that are made for this kind of thing. So these ones work really well. I have mixed a little bit of copper with black soft pastel before, and it does work fine, but it has to be like a really almost like 3-to-1 ratio, where there's still more of this than there is of the soft pastel. I once tried just using soft pastels, and as soon as you apply your varnish, the varnish dissolves the soft pastels, so the cracks basically disappear pretty much. So it has to be something that is specifically made for artistic ventures. And then you will need some kind of varnish to seal it with. It has to be a solvent-based varnish. This is the one that I used by the brand 151. It's a spray yacht varnish. It is durable and quick drying. I'm not sponsored by them, once again. I'm not sponsored by anybody. But out of all of the solvent-based varnishes that I've tried, this one seems to be the best so far. And I just found it at my local discount store, just down the road from me. They have like a little DIY section there, so I found it there, and I'm going through like the third can, which if you do have any suggestions for a good solvent-based varnish that is actually quick drying, and when it dries it doesn't take like 3 months to cure till it's fully tough and durable and it's not tacky anymore, then please do let me know, because I am really, like, so far this is the only one that I've found that has actually worked. So so this is the one that I use. And then to show you how it all works, we're going to use this lovely black, which I've already kind of almost finished decorating now. There will be a video coming on Thursday showing you how to get this look and how I did this whole black. It's not 100% finished yet, but yeah, so far all I've done is I've applied a napkin, some varnish over the top, and then some paint to age the edges essentially, but it is just a water-based varnish on here. You can apply step 1 onto pretty much any surface. The varnish that I've used here is Decorator's Varnish by Polyvine, the flat matte one. But yeah, so we're just going to apply crackle varnish onto this and seal it. So I'm going to show you how to apply it, how to evidence the cracks, and how to finally seal it, and then we'll see the final result at the end. Okay, so I have my plaque, I have my varnish, and I have my brush. So first of all, we're going to need to apply step 1. Well, on here it says component 1, but all you need to know is that it's number 1. So we take this, I open it up, and I dip my brush, and I'm just going to apply it all over this main surface area, so all the way up until this little border that I created with a contour liner. So I just dip my brush, pick up a little bit at a time, and it is quite thick and also kind of smelly. I am getting the contour liner as well with my brush, but It wasn't intended, but it's okay because when I go ahead and apply my step 2, I'm just going to go over the contour liner as well, because what will happen if I don't cover it with step 2 is that this layer 1 is going to stay tacky after it's dry. So when the step 2 starts crackling and it opens up so that the pigment can stick into it. And if I just leave step 1 on here and not cover it with step 2, when I go to apply my pigment, it will stick to these parts and it'll just stay there and it won't go away. So it's important to make sure that you always cover your step 1 with step 2. So I'm just trying to get as even of a layer as I possibly can. So you'll know when it's dry because you'll see that it will turn completely transparent. So at the moment it's a little bit milky. When it's fully transparent, that's when it's dry. I wouldn't advise touching it with your fingers. Now that you've started this whole process of applying crackle varnish with this Pentart one, it's very important that you do not touch it with your fingers at all, because wherever you touch it with your fingers, when you go to apply your pigments, the pigment will stay in the shape of your fingerprint. I don't know how it works, magic, but yeah, learn from my mistakes. Don't do it. So now that I've applied my step 1, I'm just going to let it dry for a few hours. You could use a hairdryer to help speed up the process. Just make sure that you use it on the cold setting and from as far as possible, but it is better to leave it alone and just let it dry naturally. So I'm going to leave it for a few hours until my little one goes back to bed. So I'll see you in a few hours. Okay, so it's been a few hours and my component number 1 has turned completely transparent. As you can see, it's completely dry. So it's now time to apply step 2. You will notice that it's different in color. This one is more like yellowy and transparent. And so again, just like last time, I'm just going to take it with my brush and apply it all over component 1. This one isn't as thick, but because component 1 is a little bit sticky, it doesn't glide onto the surface as well. So again, you just need to make sure that you go nice and slowly. And again, I just make sure that I get in everywhere. I tilt my plaque so I can see what I'm doing and if I've got any bits missing. So as you can see, I'm just tilting my plaque to make sure that I've covered all of the areas, and where I can see that there might be a little bit missing, I just gently go back in and drag a little bit of varnish over it. And now I'm going to leave it to dry. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it to dry overnight, and I'm going to go and put it in my kitchen onto the radiator. So in the instructions it does say that you can just leave it for a few hours and it's going to start cracking by itself. Now I don't know if it's because of the humidity here in the UK, or specifically in my flat, or if it's because I've got some kind of dodgy batch of this crackle varnish or what, but I have not been able to crackle this unless I apply a lot of heat on it. If I sit this overnight on a radiator that keeps coming on and off the whole night, in the morning I'm gonna have beautiful cracks. Now I have tried just leaving it for 24 hours, nothing happened. I got like 3 cracks. I tried using hairdryer on different heat settings. Again, that does work, but it's a lot of work. You have to stand there for a long time. If you are somewhere where there's no, where you don't have a radiator or something like that, then you might have to use a hairdryer. You might have to play around with it and see how it reacts to where you live and how the humidity is and how the temperature is wherever you are. But that is what I'm gonna do, and so I'm gonna leave it overnight, and I'm gonna see you in the morning when the cracks have appeared and we're ready to show them off. Okay, so it is the next day now, and as you can see, I have my lovely cracks all over my plaque. As you just saw in the last clip, I had a little bit of a trouble with leaving my plaque overnight on the radiator, so it turns out that it was off actually, and so nothing happened the whole night. So when I woke up in the morning, there was 0 cracks. So I did have to use my hairdryer on like a really high heat, but as soon as I put the hairdryer on, after about 5 minutes of holding it on there, the cracks did appear, which is the first time that it actually properly worked for me without having to hold it there for like half an hour. Maybe that's also something to do with the fact that it was just drying naturally in kind of cooler environment the whole night, and then I applied heat afterwards when it was fully dry. So I don't know, once again, like I said in my last video about crackle varnish can be very temperamental, so it is individual to everybody and you will have to find your way around it. My goal here is just to show you how to sort of work it, the basic things that you do need to know, and the basic principles, but then some finer details you might have to work out yourself. Now we're going to show off the cracks, and so I'm going to use this gold pigment. So this is the Royal Gold. It's also, as you can see, by Daily Art, and I'm just going to use this fluffy acrylic brush, and I have some toilet tissue to wipe the excess away. So you can't just brush away the excess with this. It does have to be some kind of tissue or a cloth to wipe it away. I've been using just a little bit of toilet tissue to wipe the excess away. And so just going to open this up, dip my brush, and I'm just going to do it kind of over this placemat here so that it doesn't get all dirty, and I just swirl it around everywhere. As you can see straight away, the difference between this Crackle Varnish and Daily Art is massive. So see how many cracks there are, but then as soon as you start showing them off, they don't scream in your face. They are very delicate, very gentle. Because it is Fineline Crackle Varnish, you might need to work your pigment into the cracks a little bit. So as you can see, I'm kind of trying to squeeze it in there from all angles to make sure that it sticks in, because the actual cracks themselves aren't very deep or wide, so they're very fine. So only a little bit of pigment sticks in there, which is what makes this wonderful look. So just keep that in mind. And I'm happy with the way that it's looking so far, so I'm just gonna take a little bit of tissue. I'm gonna kind of like buff it in, if you will, rub it away gently. So there are the cracks that we have managed to evidence. As you can see here on the light, there are a lot more finer cracks that haven't filled up with pigment. So I'm gonna go back in and add a little bit more. Also, because I am using gold over sort of this very brown color, it might not be showing off as well as, for example, a black pigment would. It is much closer on the spectrum to the color that we already have, so it's not really showing it off as well. Again, something that I do need to invest in, more proper metallic pigments. I just added a little bit more. Now let's wipe it away and see what happens. And so this is how it's looking at the moment, and I'm happy with that. I actually think that the fact that not all of the cracks are showing up as much is absolutely fine. Maybe I should have left it on the hot setting for a little bit longer, like in this corner here, but again, that's just how Crackle Varnish is. Every time you use it, you learn something new. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to step outside and seal it with my spray varnish, the same varnish that I showed you earlier, and that will be it. Well, there you go. This is the plaque that we created. So this is the final finished look after I've varnished it, and it's fully dry now. So I just have the back to varnish now. I've already applied one coat of paint on the back. I'm going to use the same varnish that I used for this, so the same spray varnish I'm going to use on the back, just because when I use varnishes, I like to keep it to the same varnish if possible. No particular reason. I don't think there would be anything bad with you using wax on the back or any other water-based varnish. It's just my preference. And so I'm going to add some hooks on here. I don't have them right now. I ordered them, so I'm just waiting for them to come in. So once they are in, I'm going to add some hooks onto here and a little hook on the back as well, so that you can hang it up on the wall, and that'll be it. So like I said, there will be a full video on how I decorated the whole thing coming on Thursday, hopefully, as long as I'm able to get it all done in time. There you can see it a little bit closer. As you can see, there's a little cracks in places. You can't see too many of them, probably because I didn't hold the hairdryer on for long enough for the cracks to open all the way up here at the bottom. So again, something new that I've learned this time. So just as one final sort of tip that I can offer, if you're going to use Fineline Crackle Varnish, as you can see, because I used gold pigment over this brown darker coloured base, it's not as visible as it would be if it was a contrasting colour, so it might be something that you want to think about. So if you do a lot of light coloured work, so whites, creams, etc., you might want to invest into some darker pigments, so black and dark brown and so on. And then if you do a lot of dark work, so if you use a lot of browns and blacks in your bases, then you might want to invest in some lighter pigments, so white pigment, cream pigment. So it needs to be something contrasting. For me personally, I am kind of all over the place. I'll do a light coloured thing one day and then a dark coloured thing the other day, and then it's going to be something very colourful. So for me, it's going to take some time for me to grow my collection. But yeah, so there you go. This is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for suggesting this video idea. I can't remember the name of the person who suggested it. I'm ever so sorry, but I hope that you found this video helpful. If you have any questions for me, if you would like me to make a video on a specific topic, then please do make sure to let me know in the comments, or send me a message on Facebook or on Instagram, because I'm always looking for ideas and I would like to answer the questions that you have. Again, if you would like to connect with me on other social media platforms, or if you would like to keep up with sort of behind the scenes and what I'm doing and so on, then make sure to check out the description. The links for all of my social media are down there. If you would like to see more videos like this, then make sure to subscribe and give me a thumbs up. And when you subscribe, click the little bell so that you get notified every time I upload a video. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye!